The 1970s were a golden era for experimenting with bold flavors, vibrant presentations, and a mix of old-world charm and modern trends during the festive season. Let's look at 25 of these dishes that adorned festive feasts in a decade that had an eclectic culinary style. Lobster Thermidor.
Well, hello there, friends. We're returning to the 70s and we're gonna make a classic, lobster thermidor.
A decadent centerpiece for many 1970s festive feasts, lobster thermidor symbolized luxury and indulgence. This French dish, dating back to the early 20th century, became popular in American kitchens during the mid-century, but truly hit its stride in the 70s. Known for its creamy, cheesy richness, lobster thermidor was as much about impressing guests as it was about celebrating the holidays. The dish starts with fresh lobster, which is boiled and carefully removed from its shell. The meat is then diced and folded into a velvety sauce made with egg yolks, mustard, white wine, cream, and grated Gruyere cheese. After the mixture is placed back into the lobster shells, it's broiled to perfection, resulting in a golden, bubbly crust. Served as a dramatic main course, lobster thermidor's origins can be traced back to the post-revolutionary French era, where culinary arts flourished. In the 1970s, the dish became a popular choice for holiday gatherings, as families embraced gourmet recipes that reflected the growing influence of French cuisine. Let's move to something a little sweeter but equally iconic. Another holiday staple that brought a Scandinavian touch to festive celebrations in the 70s. Spritz cookies.
We're making Spritz cookies, so let's get started.
Spritz cookies are a charming nod to Scandinavian festive traditions that became wildly popular in 1970s holiday baking. Their name derives from the German word spritzen, meaning to squirt, which describes how the dough is pressed or piped into intricate shapes using a cookie press. With their delicate, buttery texture and a variety of festive designs, Spritz cookies graced countless holiday dessert trays. The recipe is simple but precise. A mixture of butter, sugar, eggs, and flour forms the base, flavored with vanilla or almond extract for that quintessential holiday aroma. The dough is soft yet firm enough to hold its shape during baking, allowing for festive designs like stars, wreaths, or trees. Bakers often dyed portions of the dough with red and green food coloring for added festivity, and the cookies were sometimes sprinkled with sugar or adorned with small candies. Spritz cookies trace their origins to Scandinavian countries, particularly Sweden and Norway, where the tradition of baking intricate cookies for festive is deeply rooted. By the 1970s, these cookies became a nostalgic holiday favorite in American households, appreciated for their decorative appeal and ease of preparation. They were often baked in large batches, perfect for sharing with neighbors and loved ones. Up next is a dessert that epitomized the spirit of festive, with its intricate design and rich chocolate flavors. Yule log cake.
We're making a festive Yule log, so let's get started.
The Yule log cake, or bûche de Noël, is a French-inspired masterpiece that brought rustic charm and decadent sweetness to 1970s festive tables. This dessert, shaped like a festive log, carries a historical link to ancient Yule traditions, where burning logs symbolized good luck and prosperity. The process begins with a light, spongy cake batter that's baked in a rectangular pan and rolled into a spiral while warm, creating its signature swirl. After cooling, it's unrolled, filled with whipped cream or rich chocolate ganache, and rolled back up. The outside is then frosted with chocolate buttercream and artfully textured with a fork to mimic bark. Finishing touches often included powdered sugar, snow, meringue mushrooms, and sprigs of holly for a woodland effect. The Yule log cake's popularity surged in America during the 1970s as home bakers and chefs embraced festive, decorative desserts. Its blend of artistry and flavor made it a centerpiece at holiday gatherings, where its striking presentation impressed guests as much as its taste delighted them. Let's move on to explore a dense, fruit-filled creation that divided opinions but remained a staple on the festive table. Fruitcake.
And today I'm going to show you how to make this traditional fruitcake.
Few desserts evoke stronger reactions than fruitcake, the enduring festive treat that thrived in the 1970s. Known for its rich density and boozy undertones, fruitcake has a history stretching back to Roman times, where a version of the cake included barley mash, pomegranate seeds, and honey. By the 18th century, it had become a symbol of celebration in Europe, often preserved with alcohol to last through the winter. The 1970s fruitcake was a labor of love. A mixture of dried fruits, raisins, candied cherries, and citrus peel was soaked in in rum or brandy for days, sometimes weeks, to develop its signature flavor. The batter, made with butter, sugar, eggs, flour, and a blend of warming spices like cinnamon and nutmeg, enveloped the fruit and was baked until firm. Some recipes added nuts for texture or molasses for depth. Fruitcakes often came wrapped in decorative foil and were gifted during the holidays. Their durability made them an ideal treat for mailing to far-off relatives. Though opinions on fruitcake's taste vary, its tradition remains deeply ingrained in holiday culture. Moving on, let's lighten things up with a cloud-like confection that brought sweetness and nostalgia to festive celebrations. Divinity candy.
And today we are making divinity candy.
Divinity candy, a light and fluffy treat, was a hallmark of 1970s festive candy making. Its cloud-like texture and melt-in-your-mouth sweetness made it a favorite addition to dessert trays during the holidays. This Southern classic has roots in early 20th century America, with its name derived from its divine taste and texture. The preparation required precision, as the recipe involved cooking sugar, corn syrup, and water to the softball stage, around 240 degrees Fahrenheit, and then beating it into stiffly whipped egg whites. Timing was critical. Overcooking the sugar syrup could ruin the candy's texture, while undercooking could make it sticky. Once the mixture reached the perfect consistency, pecans or walnuts were folded in for a nutty crunch. Divinity was often spooned into bite-sized mounds and left to set, sometimes tinted with festive food coloring for festive flair. The candy's current form is based on a recipe from 1915, but an earlier version that included milk dates back to around 1907. Divinity candy was as much about family tradition as it was about taste, making it often became a group activity, with older family members teaching younger ones the art of perfect timing. Its sweet, airy quality provided a delightful contrast to heavier holiday treats, ensuring it had a place at the table year after year. We now move to a retro centerpiece that quenched thirst and brought color to holiday gatherings. Punch bowl with sherbet. Nothing screams 70s holiday fun quite like a punch bowl filled with frothy sherbet punch. This festive beverage was a crowd pleaser at festive parties, combining vibrant colors, sweet flavors, and a touch of nostalgia. Punch bowls, symbolic of communal celebration, were a staple at gatherings, and the sherbet version added a playful twist. The recipe typically started with scoops of brightly colored sherbet, orange, lime, or raspberry, placed into a large punch bowl. Over the sherbet, hosts would pour a mixture of lemon-lime soda, fruit juices, and sometimes ginger ale for extra fizz. The result was a creamy, bubbly concoction that delighted both children and adults. For an adult version, a splash of rum or vodka could be added. This drink's appeal lay in its simplicity and interactive nature. Guests could ladle their servings, marveling at the swirling colors and frothy texture. The sherbet punch's popularity surged in the 70s, reflecting the era's love of creative, visually appealing party foods. Next, we'll explore the rich, boozy sweetness of a holiday treat that blended indulgence with sophistication. Rum balls.
We're making some boozy, delicious rum balls. So let's get started.
Rum balls were an essential part of 70s holiday baking, offering a no-bake treat that packed a punch, literally. Originating from Europe, with variations in Austria and Germany, these bite-sized confections became an American festive staple, beloved for their rich flavor and festive appeal. The base of rum balls was crushed vanilla wafers or graham crackers, mixed with cocoa powder, powdered sugar, and finely chopped nuts, typically pecans or walnuts. The mixture was bound together with a generous splash of rum and sometimes a touch of corn syrup for added moisture. Once rolled into bite-sized balls, they were coated in powdered sugar, cocoa, or finely shredded coconut for a festive finish. Rum balls were cherished for their versatility. They could be made days in advance, as their flavor intensified over time, making them perfect for holiday entertaining or gift-giving. Their no-bake nature made them an easy project for kids to help with, although the rum-laden version was strictly for adults. We now turn to a creamy classic that warmed hearts and hands alike. Homemade eggnog.
And we're making some amazing, creamy, delicious eggnog, perfect for the holidays. So let's get started.
Homemade eggnog was a cherished tradition in the 70s, representing warmth, comfort, and the essence of festive gatherings. This creamy, spiced beverage has roots in medieval Britain, where it evolved from a hot milk punch called posset, which was made with hot milk that was curdled with wine or ale and flavored with spices. In the Middle Ages, posset was used as a cold and flu remedy. By the 18th century, eggnog had become synonymous with holiday celebrations in America. The 70s recipe started with a mixture of eggs and sugar, beaten until pale and frothy. Milk and heavy cream were gently heated and then combined with the eggs, creating a custard-like base. A touch of vanilla, nutmeg, and cinnamon added festive warmth, while the adults-only version featured generous pours of rum, bourbon, or brandy. After chilling, the eggnog was served in decorative glasses, often garnished with a sprinkle of nutmeg. Homemade eggnog brought families together in the kitchen, as its preparation was both an art and a tradition. The creamy, rich texture and warming spices made it the perfect companion to holiday desserts or sipped on its own by the fire. Up next is a quirky dish that added flair to 70s festive spreads. Festive snow salad. The festive snow salad was an imaginative side dish that brought whimsical flair to the 70s holiday table. Combining vibrant fruits, fluffy marshmallows, and creamy dressing, it was a refreshing addition to the otherwise heavy festive feast. This dish reflected the decade's love for molded salads and creative presentations. The recipe began with a foundation of pineapple chunks, mandarin oranges, and maraschino cherries, which provided bursts of fruity sweetness. Miniature marshmallows and shredded coconut added a snowy appearance, while the dressing, usually a blend of whipped cream and mayonnaise or sour cream, offered a tangy, creamy finish. For an extra festive touch, the salad was often garnished with sprigs of mint or pomegranate seeds. What set the festive snow salad apart was its versatility. It could be served in individual cups or as a centerpiece molded into festive shapes using gelatin. This quirky dish brought lighthearted charm to holiday meals and was especially popular with children. Its bright colors and playful texture made it an instant conversation starter. Next is the earthy sweetness of a side dish that brought warmth and tradition to the table. Honey glazed spiced carrots.
We're gonna make honey glazed spiced carrots. They make for really great fall.
Honey glazed spiced carrots were a quintessential side dish in 70s holiday meals, embodying the era's appreciation for simple yet flavorful vegetable dishes. This recipe highlighted the natural sweetness of carrots, enhanced by a glossy honey glaze and warming spices. The preparation began with fresh carrots, peeled and sliced into uniform shapes. These were gently steamed or boiled until tender yet firm. Meanwhile, a glaze was prepared by combining honey, butter, and a touch of brown sugar, then simmering it to a silky consistency. Ground cinnamon and a pinch of nutmeg were added to infuse the dish with a festive aroma. The tender carrots were then tossed in the glaze until fully coated, creating a beautiful sheen. The finished dish was often garnished with fresh parsley or slivered almonds for a touch of elegance. Honey-glazed spiced carrots were not only delicious, but also visually stunning, their vibrant orange hue adding a pop of color to the holiday spread. They paired perfectly with rich meats like turkey or ham, balancing the meal with their light, sweet flavor. Let's move to the rustic charm of a dessert that epitomized indulgence and tradition. Apple bourbon pie. Apple bourbon pie became a standout dessert on 70s festive tables, blending traditional flavors with a boozy twist. This dessert, rooted in classic American pie making, reflected the decade's penchant for combining nostalgia with bold new flavors. The recipe started with a flaky, buttery crust rolled out and pressed into a pie dish. The filling featured tart apples, such as Granny Smith, sliced thinly and tossed with brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, and a splash of lemon juice. A generous pour of bourbon was added, enhancing the natural sweetness of the apples and adding a rich, smoky undertone. After the filling was piled high into the crust, a lattice or full top crust was placed over it, brushed with egg wash, and sprinkled with coarse sugar. The pie was baked until the crust turned golden brown and the filling bubbled with caramelized juices. Apple bourbon pie was often served warm with a scoop of vanilla ice cream or a dollop of whipped cream. Its comforting flavors and intoxicating aroma made it the perfect ending to a holiday meal. Up next is a practical yet delightful addition to 70s festive feasts. Make-ahead yeast rolls.
We're making some pillowy, soft dinner rolls. So let's get started.
Make-ahead yeast rolls were a lifesaver for 70s holiday hosts, offering a soft, fluffy bread option without the stress of same-day preparation. These rolls captured the essence of homemade goodness while embracing the practicality that defined many 70s recipes. The process began with dissolving active dry yeast in warm water, followed by mixing it with sugar, melted butter, milk, and a pinch of salt. Flour was gradually incorporated to create a soft dough that was kneaded until smooth. The dough was then left to rise, doubling in size, before being shaped into rolls and placed on a baking sheet or in a pan. The brilliance of this recipe lay in its flexibility. After shaping, the rolls could be covered and refrigerated overnight. On festive day, they only required a second rise and a quick bake until golden brown. Brushing them with melted butter fresh out of the oven added a rich finish. These rolls were a perfect accompaniment to savory dishes, with their subtle sweetness complementing hearty roasts and casseroles. Their warm, yeasty aroma filling the kitchen was an unmistakable hallmark of the holidays. Speaking of hearty dishes, our next item on the list is a show-stopping centerpiece that combined elegance and earthy flavors. pecan-coated pork loin roast.
Now this is a company-worthy pork loin.
The pecan-coated pork loin roast was a luxurious main dish that graced many 70s festive tables. Combining Southern culinary influences with holiday flair, this dish showcased the decade's love for bold flavors and impressive presentations. The recipe began with a boneless pork loin, seasoned generously with salt, pepper, and herbs such as thyme and rosemary. A coating mixture was prepared by finely chopping pecans and blending them with breadcrumbs, Dijon mustard, and a touch of honey or maple syrup for sweetness. After searing the pork loin to lock in its juices, it was brushed with mustard and rolled in the pecan mixture, forming a nutty, aromatic crust. The roast was baked until the internal temperature reached a perfect medium, ensuring the meat remained juicy and tender. Served sliced with a drizzle of pan juices or a side of cranberry sauce, the pecan-coated pork loin roast was as flavorful as it was beautiful. Its crunchy exterior and succulent interior made it a memorable centerpiece for any holiday meal. Up next is a sweet treat that defined festive mornings in the 70s. Festive morning coffee.
I want to share with you one of our family's favorite traditions, and that is this delicious coffee cake.
Festive morning coffee cake was a delightful way to start the festivities in 70s households. This rich, crumbly cake brought families together over its comforting sweetness, often paired with steaming cups of coffee or hot cocoa. The recipe featured a soft, buttery batter made from flour, sugar, eggs, and sour cream, which gave the cake its signature moist texture. A streusel topping of brown sugar, cinnamon, chopped nuts, and butter was generously sprinkled over the batter, creating a crunchy, caramelized crust during baking. For an extra festive touch, some recipes included a ribbon of cinnamon or fruit filling swirled through the center. Once baked to golden perfection, the coffee cake was dusted with powdered sugar or drizzled with a light glaze. Families cherished this treat for its versatility. It could be prepared the night before and baked fresh on festive morning. Its warm, spiced aroma filled the house, heightening the holiday spirit. Let's return back to the punch bowl for another retro holiday favorite. Retro rum punch.
Today I'm going to show you how to make a classic recipe that we all love, and that is rum punch.
Retro rum punch was the quintessential holiday beverage of the 1970s, served in shimmering punch bowls with matching ladles and glasses. This drink brought a festive buzz to festive gatherings, blending fruity flavors with the warmth of rum. The punch was typically a combination of dark rum, pineapple juice, orange juice, and grenadine, with a splash of sparkling soda or ginger ale for effervescence. Some variations added maraschino cherry juice or a hint of lime for extra tartness. The mixture was poured over a large ice block, often decorated with frozen fruits or sprigs of mint, ensuring the punch stayed cool and visually appealing. A 70s punch bowl wouldn't be complete without garnish. Slices of citrus, cherries, and even edible flowers floated on top, creating a colorful, celebratory presentation. For those wanting a stronger kick, an extra pour of rum was always an option. The retro rum punch became a staple not only for its taste, but also for its communal charm. Guests would gather around the punch bowl, sharing stories and laughter as they refilled their cups. Up next is an unconventional yet iconic holiday dish. Brussels sprouts mold.
I promise you try Brussels sprouts like this.
The Brussels sprouts mold was a daring addition to 1970s festive tables, embodying the era's fascination with gelatin-based dishes. While it might sound unconventional today, it was a creative way to present vegetables with flair. The dish began with freshly cooked Brussels sprouts, chopped into bite-sized pieces and set aside. A gelatin base was prepared by dissolving unflavored gelatin in warm chicken or vegetable stock. To this, mayonnaise, sour cream, and a splash of lemon juice were added for tanginess and creaminess. Seasonings like mustard powder, paprika, and a pinch of cayenne provided depth of flavor. The Brussels sprouts were folded into the gelatin mixture along with diced celery and pimentos for added texture and color. The mixture was poured into a decorative mold and chilled until firm. Once unmolded onto a festive platter, it was garnished with parsley or cherry tomatoes. Served as a side dish, the Brussels sprouts mold was as much a visual statement as it was a flavorful one. Its creamy texture and zesty taste offered a unique break from the traditional roasted vegetables. Next on our list is another gelatin-based holiday specialty. Turkey in aspic.
Hello guys, I'm Camelia. Welcome back to culinarywishes.com. Today we are going to make turkey aspic.
Turkey in aspic was a refined, French-inspired dish that added a touch of culinary sophistication to 1970s festive feasts. The origins of turkey in aspic can be traced back to the Middle Ages, when cooks discovered that thickened meat broth would solidify into a jelly. Aspic, a savory gelatin, was often used to encase meats or vegetables in translucent beauty, showcasing them as edible art as well as preserving them and keeping out bacteria and air. The process started with leftover roasted turkey, carved into neat slices. The aspic was prepared by simmering turkey stock with gelatin, creating a clear, savory base. Herbs like parsley, thyme, and bay leaf were added for flavor, along with a splash of white wine for a subtle aromatic kick. The turkey slices were arranged in a decorative mold with embellishments like hard-boiled egg slices, thin carrot rounds, and parsley leaves. The aspic was poured over the arrangement, filling every crevice, and then chilled until firm. Once unmolded, the dish revealed a stunning jewel-like presentation. Turkey in aspic was served as a cold appetizer or as part of a buffet spread, often accompanied by a tangy mustard or cranberry sauce. Let's move on to the delicate indulgence of our next item, a versatile addition to any holiday menu: crepes.
And today I'm going to share with you how to make our all-time favorite crepes.
Crepes brought a touch of European elegance to 1970s festive celebrations. Originating in France, these thin, versatile pancakes could be served as either a sweet dessert or a savory dish, making them a beloved addition to holiday menus. The crepe batter was a simple mixture of eggs, milk, flour, melted butter, and a pinch of salt, whisked until smooth. The key to achieving the perfect crepe was letting the batter rest, allowing the flour to hydrate and any bubbles to settle. Once ready, the batter was poured into a hot, lightly buttered skillet and swirled to form a thin, even layer. Cooked briefly on each side, the crepes emerged golden and pliable. For festive, sweet crepes were often filled with festive flavors like spiced apples, cherries, or Nutella, then dusted with powdered sugar or drizzled with chocolate sauce. Savory versions might be stuffed with spinach and cheese, smoked salmon, or even leftover turkey in a creamy sauce. Crepes were a favorite for their customizable nature, allowing families to craft their perfect filling combinations. Their delicate texture and versatility made them a festive treat that could transition from breakfast to dessert. Up next is a more structured yet equally layered classic, which was a staple at holiday gatherings: overnight layered lettuce salad. The overnight layered lettuce salad was a beloved 70s dish, celebrated for its make-ahead convenience and visually striking presentation. Often served in a glass bowl to show off its colorful layers, this salad became a go-to for holiday potlucks and family dinners. The base layer started with crisp iceberg lettuce, followed by neatly arranged layers of diced tomatoes, chopped hard-boiled eggs, and crumbled bacon. Sweet green peas added a pop of vibrant color, while shredded cheese lent richness to the mix. The pièce de résistance was the creamy dressing, typically a blend of mayonnaise, sour cream, sugar, and vinegar, spread evenly over the top to seal in freshness. After assembling, the salad was covered and refrigerated overnight, allowing the flavors to meld together. Before serving, it was garnished with fresh parsley or additional cheese for a festive touch. Each scoop brought a medley of textures, from crunchy lettuce to creamy dressing, with the savory-sweet combination delighting every bite. Next is the hearty, slow-cooked comfort of a dish steeped in tradition and perfect for winter feasts: cassoulet.
The French can call it something fancy like cassoulet, but
Cassoulet, a rich, slow-cooked stew originating in southern France, was a luxurious addition to 70s festive dinners. This dish epitomized comfort food, featuring layers of tender meats and creamy white beans simmered to perfection. The preparation of cassoulet was a labor of love. It began with white beans, soaked overnight and cooked with aromatic herbs like thyme and bay leaf. The meat components varied, but traditionally included duck confit, pork sausages, and sometimes lamb. These were browned separately to develop a deep, savory flavor. In a large casserole dish, the beans were layered with the meats, garlic, and onions, then topped with broth and a sprinkle of breadcrumbs. The dish was slow-baked for several hours, allowing the flavors to meld and the breadcrumbs to form a golden crust. Some recipes called for breaking the crust several times during baking to achieve a rich, caramelized depth. Cassoulet was served piping hot, often accompanied by crusty bread and a glass of red wine. Its hearty, comforting nature made it a perfect centerpiece for festive winter gatherings. Moving on, let's take a look at the airy delight of a playful and indulgent addition to 70s holiday spreads: potato puffs. Potato puffs were a delightful and playful addition to 70s festive table. These crispy golden bites combined the comforting flavors of mashed potatoes with the irresistible appeal of fried food, making them a crowd-pleasing treat for both kids and adults. To make potato puffs, leftover mashed potatoes were transformed into a luxurious batter by adding eggs, shredded cheese, chopped chives, and a pinch of nutmeg for warmth. The mixture was carefully shaped into small balls or piped into delicate shapes, then rolled in breadcrumbs for a crunchy coating. Fried to perfection in hot oil, the puffs emerged crisp on the outside while remaining soft and creamy within. For a lighter version, some home cooks opted to bake them instead. They were often served as an appetizer or a side dish, accompanied by sour cream or a tangy dipping sauce. Potato puffs were beloved not only for their flavor but also for their versatility. They could be customized with additions like bacon bits, herbs, or spices, catering to individual tastes. Their bite-sized form and rich, comforting flavor made them a holiday favorite. We now move on to the ultimate communal dining experience of the 70s. Fondue.
It doesn't get much better than melted cheese and some really good bread. So in today's recipe, I'm going to show you how to make classic cheese fondue.
Fondue was the ultimate symbol of 70s holiday gatherings, blending food and social interaction into one memorable experience. Originating from Switzerland, this dish became a festive centerpiece thanks to its communal appeal and endless possibilities for dipping. The classic cheese fondue began with a mixture of Gruyere and Emmental cheeses melted with white wine and a splash of Kirsch cherry brandy in a special fondue pot. A touch of garlic and nutmeg added depth to the velvety sauce. Guests dipped cubes of crusty bread into the bubbling mixture using long forks, ensuring a shared sense of fun and indulgence. For a sweeter take, chocolate fondue emerged as a popular variation, featuring melted chocolate mixed with cream or liqueur. Dippers ranged from strawberries and bananas to marshmallows and pound cake. Meat fondues, using hot oil or broth, allowed diners to cook small pieces of beef or chicken to their liking. Fondue brought people together, turning meals into an interactive event filled with laughter and conversation. Its versatility and charm made it a staple for holiday celebrations. Up next is the briny, seafood-rich delight of a dish steeped in coastal tradition. Cioppino.
Cioppino is my favorite version of fish stew. It hails from San Francisco.
Cioppino, a hearty seafood stew with roots in San Francisco's Italian-American community, added a coastal twist to 70s festive feasts. This dish was a medley of fresh seafood, simmered in a rich tomato-based broth infused with wine, garlic, and herbs. The story of Cioppino began with fishermen in the late 19th century who combined the day's catch with simple pantry ingredients to create a filling, flavorful meal. By the 70s, this rustic stew had become a cherished holiday dish, especially for families near the coast. To prepare Cioppino, a base of onions, garlic, and celery was sautéed before adding tomatoes, white wine, and fish stock. Clams, mussels, shrimp, scallops, and chunks of fish like cod or halibut were added to the simmering broth, along with spices like red pepper flakes and parsley. The result was a vibrant, aromatic stew served with crusty bread for dipping. The beauty of Cioppino lay in its adaptability. Cooks could tailor the seafood mix based on availability and personal preference. Its bold, briny flavors and hearty nature made it a standout dish for holiday celebrations. Next, we move to a dish that brought Italian comfort food to 70s holiday table. Pasta carbonara.
Hey, what's up? Today, I'm going to show you guys how to make a proper plate of creamy, luxurious carbonara.
Pasta carbonara brought a touch of Italian indulgence to 70s festive feasts, showcasing the rich, creamy flavors that made it a household favorite. Originating in Rome, this dish exemplified simplicity and elegance, relying on high-quality ingredients to create its distinctive taste. The traditional recipe started with spaghetti or fettuccine, cooked al dente and set aside. In a separate pan, diced pancetta or guanciale was sautéed until crisp, releasing its flavorful fat. Meanwhile, eggs were whisked with grated pecorino romano or Parmesan cheese and a generous amount of freshly ground black pepper. The hot pasta was quickly tossed with the pancetta and its drippings, and the egg mixture was added off the heat. The residual warmth of the pasta gently cooked the eggs, creating a silky sauce that clung to every strand. The result was a dish that balanced the smoky saltiness of the pancetta with the creaminess of the sauce and the sharpness of the cheese. While not an overtly festive dish, pasta carbonara often appeared as a comforting addition to festive buffets, offering a hearty, flavorful option alongside other rich holiday fare. We close out our list with a show-stopping centerpiece for holiday celebrations. Beef Wellington.
Beef Wellington is one of those dishes everybody knows about.
Beef Wellington, a hallmark of 70s festive dinners, was the ultimate showstopper, combining culinary precision with dramatic presentation. Its origins trace back to British cuisine, named either for the Duke of Wellington after the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, or as an homage to the popular Wellington boot, depending on the story. This dish began with a center-cut beef tenderloin, seared to lock in its juices. The tenderloin was then coated with a layer of pâté, often made from foie gras, and a duxelles, a finely chopped mixture of mushrooms, shallots, and herbs sautéed in butter. The wrapped tenderloin was enveloped in puff pastry, brushed with egg wash, and baked to golden perfection. The result was a stunning dish, crisp pastry encasing the savory layers of pâté and duxelles, with the tender medium-rare beef at its heart. Beef Wellington was often served with a rich Madeira or red wine reduction sauce, complementing the luxurious flavor. Its elaborate preparation and grand appearance made it a prized centerpiece for festive occasions, symbolizing indulgence and holiday splendor. And that's all for this video. Which festive foods from the list do you remember from your childhood? Which ones do you think we should have talked about? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more nostalgic food journeys. Until next time.